I'm now happy to introduce Suzanne Flint.
Welcome. I'm Suzanne Flint, and I'm one of the principal architects of this fellowship, along with my colleague Stephen Ristow. We've been assisted by a dynamic team of co-collaborators, including Annalisa Svehag, who will also be a part of this webinar today. But many individuals with a vast array of experience and skills will be participating in this fellowship throughout the coming year as faculty, facilitators, and local mentors. We're delighted to finally welcome you all to this fellowship community. In today's webinar, the three of us, Stephen, Annalisa, and myself, will be providing both practical information about the fellowship, its requirements, and various activities over the coming year, as well as some of the theoretical background information that is the rationale for this fellowship. We plan to cover all of our content points in approximately an hour, allotting the remaining time for questions and answers to ensure that you all have sufficient time to clarify any issues that you may have. Please post your questions as they occur to you, however, in the Q&A box in the lower right-hand corner of your screen. We'll gather them over the course of the webinar and respond to them all at the end. If for any reason you have a question that does not get addressed, please don't hesitate to contact either by phone or email either myself or Stephen at any time after the webinar. Our downloadable handouts contain all of our contact information and relevant URLs. So let's briefly review our agenda for today. I'm going to start off with some background about the fellowship and an overview of our learning goals. Then Stephen will help us explore some of the foundational concepts about aging and longevity that serve as the theoretical basis for this fellowship. Then we're going to tag team an overview of the fellowship structure itself. Annalisa will start us off with a look at our social media strategy and Ning community. I'll walk you through the activities we'd like you to undertake between now and the Portland Institute. Stephen will cover the Portland Institute, while I'll provide an overview to the online learning courses that will take place following the Institute. We'll conclude with Stephen and a brief summary of the fellowship survey and evaluation process, and then we'll respond to all your questions. To give you some context for how this fellowship came to be, I'd like to provide some background. From 2006 to 2009, a national initiative was undertaken by Libraries for the Future, in which selected library leaders from around the country were brought together to consider new ideas for library service to older adults, based on what the latest research was revealing about the changing nature of aging. From this initial endeavor, other efforts began to take shape, led by state libraries in Arizona, Connecticut, and North Carolina, as well as by some individual libraries in other U.S. communities. This then led in 2007 to a statewide initiative spearheaded by the California State Library, in which 88 librarians from 44 libraries were trained. 30 libraries went on to undertake community assessments, and of these, the state library funded 24 grants of up to $20,000 each. The state library recognized the importance of the work being undertaken by these early adopting libraries and continued their investment in this initiative by helping to disseminate the lessons learned from these targeted grants, the results of which now form much of the content on our Transforming Life After 50 website. The California statewide experience then led to a regional initiative designed by a collaborative partnership between the California State Library, Idaho Commission for Libraries, and Washington and Oregon State Libraries that resulted in this IMLS fellowship opportunity. And now you're joining us. We look forward to your contributions and learning together in the coming year, and we're really excited to have you all with us today. Our goals for this fellowship are few but far-reaching. Primarily, we want to inspire library innovation in serving and engaging the growing population of adults ages 50 plus. And we believe that in the process, we will transform libraries, helping to ensure that they remain valued, relevant community resources well into the 22nd century, places and spaces that nurture human connection and creativity, not just for midlife adults, but for everyone. It's a lofty goal, we know, but one we've already begun to see some evidence of. Now here's what we've gleaned from the pre-surveys regarding your own goals for this fellowship. With slight variations, it seems that almost everyone wants to learn how to better serve your communities and the midlife adults ages 50 plus within them. You also want to learn how to ensure community appreciation for your libraries, and how to nurture your own professional development, gaining confidence, as one respondent framed it, to try, to fail, and to try again. We believe our goals are well aligned, but we also believe that the world is shifting, that constant change is the norm, and traditional responses to this new paradigm will not suffice. The time is ripe for unique responses to our respective goals. Any entity that has a large number of users, substantial uncertainty, and potential for improvement is ripe for transformation. Certainly libraries qualify as just such entities, and we think it's time to not just tweak libraries, but reshape them. The changing nature of longevity provides one inroad to this kind of innovative transformation, and we believe if we can learn how to smartly make small moves, we can create big shifts. Which brings us to our learning philosophy. And part of the reason that we believe this transformation is possible now more than ever before is because individuals are increasingly reshaping institutions. Individuals got mixed up there, folks. Let me start over. One of the reasons we believe this transformation is possible now more than ever is because individuals are increasingly reshaping institutions rather than vice versa. And this is a future trend many predict to be long-lasting. But to take advantage of this cultural shift, transforming our libraries will also require transforming ourselves. And what does this mean for you? It means identifying your passion. What about this extended adult life stage is most intriguing to you personally? It means learning how to leverage, how to connect with others and mobilize resources that already exist. It means finding a pace that enables you to be agile, and it means being willing to risk and try new things, all of which will make it possible to more quickly move in response to change and opportunity. Now our learning philosophy. We've designed this year as a true fellowship in which we believe you as adults and as fellows are self-directed, have life experiences and knowledge worth contributing, are goal-oriented, are relevancy-oriented, and are practical. As leaders facilitators, we believe our role is to create a conducive and stimulating learning environment, provide access to knowledgeable thought leaders and practitioners, keep barriers to your participation low, provide feedback and facilitation, and offer inspiration and point to practical examples. For us, fellowship means an open exchange of information, ideas, and questions between peers, fellows and faculty alike. It means working together in pursuit of knowledge creation, not just knowledge sharing. It will entail skill building. Practical applications are its ultimate purpose. Interactive participation, sharing your knowledge, asking questions, joining in conversations, mentoring each other, and trying new things is essential. Bottom line, we'll be providing lots of stimulating content, but ultimately you'll get out what you put in. What we hope is that we're building a community and that you're joining this community of library innovators not just as learners, but as leaders. As we embark on this coming year, we invite you to imagine, really imagine, what libraries could look like and challenge conventional assumptions about what's required for success. And we ask that you bring your passion and creativity. This year will require that we all venture into arenas where there are few defined roadmaps, where risks arise at nearly every turn, and where we'll need to learn to trust and rely on each other and on people that we do not yet even know. We believe the rewards, however, will be well worth it. Now let me turn it over to Stephen, who will explore what we now know about the changing nature of aging and what the new longevity can mean for libraries.
Well, hi everyone. It is so exciting to be having played a part in building this fellowship, and I want to welcome all of you to this year-long professional learning experience. You, your libraries, and the communities you serve are the reasons we created this fellowship, and I look forward to working with all of you more closely. So what are those foundational concepts and how is aging changing? First of all, Americans are living longer than ever before. I don't think that's new news, but some of the statistics are quite illuminating. At the turn of the century in 1900, life expectancy at birth was 47 years. And in 2000, a century later, life expectancy at birth was 77 years. Over the 20th century, the population of adults aged 65 and older grew from 3 million to 35 million, or 12% of the population. And during that same period, the oldest old population, those 85 years old and older, grew from just over 100,000 in 1900 to 4.2 million. Well, the growth trend is only going to accelerate over the coming 20 to 30 years. The 65 plus population will grow another 70%, and it will represent nearly 20% of the total U.S. population. The 85 and older population will grow from that 4.2 million in 2000 to nearly 21 million in the year 2050. And for those of you who are fascinated as I am with the centenarians among us, those who are 100 years old and older, it's estimated that by 2050, nearly 1 out of 5, or 20% of older adults, will live to the age of 100. One of the foundational concepts underpinning the Transforming Life After 50 initiative is that due to expanded lifespans, we're seeing a new life stage being formed. Much like the stage of adolescence that was created due to longer lifespans earlier in the 20th century to mark the extended period between childhood and adulthood, we are now seeing a new life stage that some have called an extended middle age, about 30 years added to the middle of one's life, not to the end. Improvements in health status, healthier lifestyles that include a balance of work, learning, and play, infused with a sense of meaning and purpose, and advancements in medical technologies are credited with these trends toward longer lives. Longevity is going to transform our culture, and the big question is whether on individual, organizational, and societal levels, are we ready for it? During the fellowship, you will be introduced to a number of national leaders on longevity, health, and aging, including Dr. Laura Carstensen, the director of the Stanford University Center on Longevity, and Dr. Paul Nussbaum, neuropsychologist and brain health expert, who will help you understand the opportunities and challenges of living longer lives and the implications for your libraries and communities. And just a final word about communities. While we may emphasize particular subgroups of the aging population, like the baby boomers, we believe that these trends towards longevity really mean that we will have more generations that make up our communities. For the first time, it will be commonplace to have 3 generations of older adults, adults 50 and older, living at the same time. This presents unique challenges and opportunities. It also means our language and definitions of old, older adults, and aging, and all the attendant stages and phases that we used to attach to these words must change as well, so that we do not fall prey to outdated concepts and expectations. We live in communities of multiple generations and must seek to engage, promote, and sustain communities for all ages. Many of you are familiar with Dan Buettner and his popular bestseller, Blue Zones. According to Buettner, the best science says our bodies are designed to live about 90 years, a little more for women and a little less for men. And yet our current average life expectancy is about 12 years less. He teamed up with National Geographic and hired the world's best longevity experts to identify pockets around the world where people are living measurably better lives. In these blue zones, they found people who reach age 100 at rates 10 times greater than in the U.S., where people suffer a fraction of the rate of heart disease and cancer than we do, and where people are getting the extra 10 years that we're missing. So what were the things that were the keys to longevity? First, move naturally. Find natural ways to move in your life. Focus on activities you love, like gardening, walking, playing with your family. Have the right outlook. Know and be able to articulate your sense of purpose. Ensure your day is punctuated with periods of calm. Wouldn't that be nice? The two most dangerous years of your life are the year you were born because of infant mortality and the year you retire. Significant, particularly for boomers as they approach the retirement years. People in the Blue Zone study have a sense of purpose that adds about 7 years to their life expectancy. Eat wisely. Instead of groping from one fad diet to another, use time-honored strategies for eating 20% less at meals. Eat plant-based diets, avoid meat and processed food, and my favorite, drink a couple of glasses of wine daily. Belong to the right tribe. Surround yourself with the right people. Make the effort to connect or reconnect with faith practices and put loved ones first. The foundation of all this is how these people connect. They put family first. They take care of their children, their aging parents. They tend to belong to faith-based group, and this activity adds 4 to 14 years to their life expectancy. These people add more years to their life and more life to their years. So who are the baby boomers anyway? I think most of us understand that the boomers are those who are born between the year 1946 and 1964. They're now aged 45 to 64. Not all of us have turned yet 45 or 46, and some of us have turned 64. It's a big cohort, 78 million of us born in that cohort. Baby boomers are referred to in many positive and some negative terms, but what everyone recognizes is the sheer size of the generation, what demographers refer to as the pig through the python. To give you a sense of the baby boomer cohort size, 1 of every 3 adults in the U.S. is a boomer. Every 8 seconds, another adult turns 50. In many communities, boomers represent 25 to 30% of the entire community population, although you will each have to assess that in your own community. In the workplace, boomers are often the largest group of employees, again, all of which come with unique implications for employers, employees, and the future workforce trends. In looking over the roster of fellows, over 50% of you were born in the baby boomer years. So I'm going to offer some general characteristics of boomers, particularly in contrast to previous generations. And I start with a disclaimer. All generalizations are dangerous. And so the key thing in all of this is to understand the diversity of the boomer cohort and the particular boomer cohorts that reside in your communities. Boomers are living longer and healthier lives. We've talked about that already. They're the first generation to have these bonus years, 30 years or more, added to the. They have greater affluence with more options for work, learning, and leisure. Boomers currently possess 3/4 of the nation's financial assets, even though that has declined a bit, plus an estimated $1 trillion in annual disposable income. Yet 44% of those aged 55 to 59 are fearful that they'll not have sufficient resources to live beyond age 85. According to some national reports, 25 million boomers have less than $1,000 in their net lifetime assets. Whether by choice or necessity, the majority of boomers approaching traditional retirement age report they plan to work well into their 60s and beyond through recareering, volunteer service, or encore careers. They're better educated, they have more skills and knowledge and life experience than prior generations. Mainly because they enjoyed more educational opportunities and attainment, boomers are seeking opportunities to learn and contribute. And finally, the generation of boomers have very high expectations. The boomers are optimistic. They're characterized by their capacity to experiment and evolve. Boomers look for activities that are meaningful and seek to make a difference. Because they have often led the charge and currently hold many leadership positions at work and in their community, they like to be in charge. At each life stage, this generation has reshaped traditions, and as they age, the boomers will reshape aging, work and retirement, and lifelong learning. As I said, these are generalizations, and it's important to recognize just how diverse the boomer cohort is. Boomers are not a monolithic group, so it is important to understand who the boomers are in your community, which segments you wish to target, and how you will tailor your engagement strategies to connect with them. Through this fellowship, we will inform and guide your steps in this regard. While the target for much of the consumer products industry is on a younger demographic, boomer consumer author Matt Thornhill insists that it is the 50-plus demographic that will grow the most, some 23% over the next 7 years, and deserves our attention. This is another reason why we've entitled this initiative Transforming Life After 50. I see a question about Encore Careers, and I'll be getting to that in a moment. So there's this new life stage, and it's not your parents' or grandparents' retirement. Why is this so important? Well, due to increased longevity, boomers and the generations that follow will enjoy 30 years added to the middle years of their lives. This is uncharted territory for boomers and for our society, so we'll be inventing as we go. As landmark cultural institutions, public libraries must be a part of the response to these trends and rethink how we will serve and engage midlife adults 50+. The media has been all over this phenomenon, and we'll be encouraging you to scan how your local media and the national media have covered this issue. Some, like this late 1990s New York Times magazine cover, were on it early. Funny, we don't feel old. While you can hardly go a day without reading a cartoon or an advertising slogan like 70 is the new 50. We've talked about the Blue Zone study and the keys to longevity. Here are two other researchers, Paul Nussbaum at the University of Pittsburgh and Marcy Latchman at Brandeis University, talking about the keys to healthy lifestyles. Dr. Nussbaum will be with us in Portland and will convince you that public libraries are excellently positioned to be brain health centers in your communities. In all of these studies, having and practicing a spiritual life, by whatever definition you use for that term, seems to add years to your life. Many lifetime development theorists, including Erik Erikson, suggest that it's during these last two stages of life that one's orientation moves to being other-oriented. One's view at age 50 and beyond, perhaps due to recognizing our own inevitable mortality, seems to shift from thinking more about what we are leaving for the generations that follow. A similar identity crisis to the one we had in adolescence emerges that focuses on what our legacy, our life work, will stand for. Midlife adults and older adults become more interested in the purpose of their life and perhaps in what their life wisdom is to be passed on. Bob Atchley, author of Spirituality and Aging, will also join us in Portland and share more about these dynamics and how libraries can help adults 50 and older navigate these life transitions. And speaking of generativity and giving back, we would be remiss if we didn't acknowledge the significant caregiving role that boomers and older adults are playing in the care of their own aging parents and of their grandchildren. I posted a personal account of caregiving on the Ning blog from the Atlantic Monthly titled Letting Go of My Father that you may want to read. Most of us have experienced the responsibility and stress of caring for a parent. As a group, boomers provide a substantial amount of caregiving. Over 70% have at least one living parent, 25 million live with an aging parent, and 13 million provide parental caregiving. Again, public libraries are in the forefront of community institutions providing tools, resources, and support to people in these caregiving roles. As we have said, this extended period of midlife affords people the opportunity and perhaps the necessity to seek new options for work, learning, and service well into the traditional retirement years. Unlike the old model that emphasized learning in the childhood and early adult years, work in the adult years, and leisure in the retirement years, the new model going forward will require flexible options for lifelong learning, work, and service. In his books Prime Time, How Baby Boomers Will Revolutionize Retirement and Transform America, and Encore, Finding Work That Matters in the Second Half of Life, Civic Ventures founder Mark Friedman has called for a new continuum of work options in the social sector. He calls these Encore careers. These include opportunities to retrain, re-career into public and nonprofit service, and find meaningful service projects in which to use their skills and to make a difference. We'll have a panel of national leaders in Portland to walk through this new continuum of work after 50 and to provide examples of promising models and Encore initiatives throughout the country. So what are some of the implications? First, boomers consider themselves in early middle age. They feel younger than they are, and they're inner-directed. Don't treat them like they're old or seniors. Second, knowing their age doesn't tell you about their life stage, so take age out of your thinking. Third, boomers have a myriad of lifestyles, talents, interests, and needs. So there isn't a one-size-fits-all program or strategy to serve them. And fourth, midlife adults 50 plus are optimistic, driven, transformational. They want leadership opportunities where they can put their skills to work. Rethink your volunteer and talent engagement strategies. The book Boomers and Beyond, Reconsidering the Role of Libraries, is a book written by, co-edited by Diantha Schull, who led the Lifelong Access, the Libraries for the Future National Initiative. And a number of national leaders, some of whom will be with us in Portland, contributed to this book. We are in the process of obtaining it and hope to provide each of you a copy of it, as it really gives a great series of essays on all of the issues affecting library practice as it relates to midlife adults 50 plus. As we looked at library innovation in California and the 24 projects that Suzanne mentioned earlier, we found that there were 5 critical areas where libraries were innovating. They were innovating around creating new partners and new partnerships around serving and engaging the 50-plus population. They were not only thinking about programs that serve boomers, but they were thinking also about engagement strategies that utilize the talents and leadership of boomers to deliver services in their community. They thought about promotion not just in terms of the traditional forms of promotion, but found new social media outlets in which to get the word out and to connect to their community. And place was a physical space, as in the library spaces that they provided throughout the community, but it was also virtual spaces. And they utilized blogs and social media to help to connect and to teach and to inform. And finally, these initiatives help the library to position themselves in a leadership role in their community as the community deals with an aging population. It also helped to position the library more favorably in terms of connecting to a population that they weren't always doing a good job connecting to, and ultimately to be able to secure the support and advocacy of an important constituent group. These are just some of some examples of some of the projects in California. There are 24 projects, and they are all found on the Transforming Life After 50 Innovators tab. We encourage you to take a look at them, and we continue to add resources and tools and examples from each of these projects that you'll be able to rely on as you consider what you might do in your own community. I'm going to turn it over to Annalisa now, who's going to share with you a little bit about exactly where you can find those innovative projects, and also we'll share with you a little bit more about the social media that you'll be participating in. Annalisa?
Thanks, Stephen. Hi, my name's Annalisa, and I'm the social media consultant for Transforming Life After 50. I'm also going to be co-teaching one of the online learning courses for the IMLS Fellowship that's titled Engaged Programming and Social Media Strategies. So you can see right now we have a screenshot of our website, but I'm actually going to take you on a little tour of on my computer of the websites and networks that we use to keep you informed and to connect with each other online. So I'm going to share my web browser with you. And we'll start with the TLA 50 website at transforminglifeafter50.org. And this is where you can send anyone who's interested in learning more about TLA 50 or the IMLS Fellowship. And we have a lot of resources here that we encourage you to check out. And an important link you can see up here in the upper right-hand corner that says Join Our Social Network. This is how you can connect to our Ning community. And most of you are already members. If you're not, you can sign up for an account. And I'll cover a couple things today that will explain how to set up your own page and explore this site a little bit more. First of all, this Ning community was designed for Transforming Life After 50 in general, but we have set up a special area in the group section called the private group for the IMLS Fellows. Now, if you're not already a member of this group, when you click on this icon here, instead of seeing what you see now, because I'm already a member, you'll see something that looks a little bit like this. Members must be approved. To join the group, you have to click to request access, and you can send a request, and then we'll approve you, and you'll become a member of the group. But for now, I'll take you back to the page since most of you are already members. And you can see that there is a brief description of the fellowship, and this is where we'll be posting a lot of important information about upcoming events, activities. You can see here that our guest contributor series is being highlighted and links to where you can find out more about that. There's a discussion forum where we encourage you to post any topics that you'd like to discuss with the fellows, and a comment wall for a brief introduction if you want, or any comment you'd like to share. And this is only seen by the IMLS fellows. You can see all of the members here by clicking View All. And clicking on anyone's icon will take you to their personal profile. And if you want to send a message to the entire group, there's a link here that will send a message to everyone, all of the fellows who are a member of the group. So next I'll show you how to set up your own personal page. If you click on My Page in the main menu navigation, you'll see the page that you probably set up when you first signed up for the Ning community. And if you want to change any of your settings, over here in the right-hand column, you can click Settings and upload a photo to your profile, change your password, any of your personal information. If you have a Twitter account, you can connect to that here. And an important thing to know is that your email settings have a default setting, And you can go in and change those that says, when you get an email from this network, depending on what you decide. So if you don't want to get lots of email alerts, but you want to get alerts for certain things, you can change that here. And we encourage you to share a little bit of information about yourself on your profile. There's a text box that you can actually move up to the top of the page just by clicking and dragging. And then you can add text here like a bio about yourself or any information that you want to share to kind of let us get more familiar with who you are in your library. So I also want to encourage you to go to the forum section of the Ning community, which is where we'll be featuring guest contributors like Michelle Bowman here. You can see that she's posted her introduction and her first post to the Futures Forum, and you can reply. As you can see here, people have already done. And also want to point out the difference between the forum, which is where people post ideas, questions, topics that they want to encourage a discussion about. You can see here computer literacy is a discussion topic that's gotten a lot of replies. And then there's also the blog section, which is where you can also post information, but it's more of a narrative and less of a discussion. Stephen mentioned that he had posted a personal account on caregiving, which you can see here. And you can also comment on blog posts, but if you are trying to decide, where you should post something, whether the forum or the blog, the forum is more of a place where discussions are really encouraged to happen, whereas a blog, like I said, is more of a narrative. And if you have any questions about Ning or how to use it, you can email me. My email is annalisa@hyperarts.com, and I'll post that in the chat section of the WebEx interface after my presentation, so you can save that. And now I'm going to go back to the main page just for a second and show you how to find our other social networks. You can see here in the right-hand corner there are 3 links. The first one's to our Facebook page, which is loading slowly. Here we go. So you can become a fan of our Facebook page and post comments here. We encourage you to share links to your library's Facebook page. This is just another way for us to connect with each other, share information. And we also have a Twitter account. You can see here our username is TLA50. And if you're on Twitter, we'd love to talk to you. You can use the hashtag TLA50 as you see here if you're talking about anything related to the fellowship. And finally, our YouTube channel, where we've posted videos from some of the Transforming Life After 50 participating libraries and other interesting things that we think that you will enjoy watching. So those are just some different ways to connect with us, and we encourage you to visit us there. And now I'm going to try and go back. Here we are. And I think I'm going to hand the presentation back over to Suzanne. Is that correct?
Thanks, Annalisa. Yep.
Okay.
Thanks so much.
Oh, and I'm going to post my email, like I said, into the chat section. So if anyone has any questions, you'll find it there.
That's great. Thank you, Annalisa, and thanks, Stephen. You gave us a lot to be thinking about. I'm actually going to be curious if, as we go into this, we're going to sort of change gears here now and can talk more about the actual structure of the fellowship in the coming year. But also, as we go through that process and you think about some of the points that Stephen just shared, if you have any aha moments, feel free to share those too in the Q&A. I'd be curious to know if there was anything in particular that struck you, even if it's not a question, but a comment that Stephen made that you found especially interesting or illuminating. So let's shift gears here a little bit. Also do want to remind you that if you've got questions, don't forget to post them in the Q&A. But now we want to give you an idea about this whole year ahead. We've all been working for the past year to create this experience for you, and we're now excited to let you know how we envision it rolling out. So, and also to give you an idea of the expectations and requirements that you're going to need to fulfill to actually have fulfilled the fellowship. So the first, of course, is to attend or watch the archive version of today's webinar. And for those of you who may have to leave early or have colleagues who wanted to watch it but didn't have a chance to today, we will have the archived version available, and you can view it up through August 13th. And we'll get that information out tomorrow. Then we have some pre-institute activities that we're going to be asking you to do between now and the Institute. I'll talk about those in more detail in a moment. Then there's the Portland Institute, which will really be exciting because it will be fun to actually see you all and meet you all in person. As much as we're going to enjoy getting to know you in the virtual community, I am myself a boomer, and I still rely a lot on that personal contact. So we're looking forward to connecting with you in the Portland Institute. Then after that, we are wanting you to participate in the 6 online learning courses that will take place, and we'll go over those in a moment as well, from September 28th through May 9th. And then the fellowship will conclude in early June. So for now, we want you to continue exploring our NING community and meet your other colleagues, as several of you have already begun to do. As Annalise has said, we are going to be having guest contributors who will be joining us from time to time in the NING. And we're also going to start now posting all of our updates and activities related to the fellowship in the NING's private fellow group, and move away from email blast to everyone, because we really want to build a sense of community. So we'll be relying less and less on sort of personalized emails and more on communicating as a group in NING. So besides interacting in the NING, we do have a few activities we'd like you to undertake between now and the Institute. Nothing too complicated or onerous, but activities that we think will be important foundationally for the coming year. Complete instructions have been posted on the NING in the private fellows group, so I'm just going to review them here briefly. And they are, first, 2 required activities. The first is simply to create an introductory PowerPoint slide for the Institute, customizing the provided template and emailing it to me by September 3rd. As I said, we've posted a template of the slide on our NING Community Fellow Group, and really it's very simple. It's your name, your state, your city, your state, and 1 or 2 images of yourself, and we'll be using them as a way to help you all get to know each other at the Institute. The second required activity is to have an intentional, or not just one, but have intentional but informal conversations with various stakeholders at your library, in your community, utilizing the intentional conversations exercise that we've also posted on the NING community before, during, and after the Institute. You'll discuss your experiences with this activity as part of your first online course following the Institute, which begins on September 28th. So you've got lots of time to do it, and we're hoping that you will use the exercise in lots of different contexts and with many different groups of people. We believe it's an exercise that can provide an important key to your eventual success as you move from theory to implementation. And then we asked you to select at least one elective activity and complete it by the Institute as well. The first is something Stephen mentioned earlier, which is to scan your local media, looking for stories about boomers, the changing nature of aging, the new midlife, and reflecting on them, and if there's anything in particular that strikes you or trends that you find of interest, to share those with us in blogs on the NING. Or you can read one of 3 MetLife research articles, which we've listed links to on the NING, or you can watch the CNBC Brokaw Report, Boomers. Again, instructions and link for all these activities have been posted on the NING's Fellow Group, so you can download the articles right there to read them. You can watch the Brokaw Report right there, and the slide template, as I said, and the intentional conversations exercise are also there for you to download and to go forward with. And the other thing is we want you to enjoy and have some fun with this, so hoping the next month is a nice opportunity to start getting your feet wet. So I'm going to turn it back to Stephen, and he's going to walk us through the Institute.
Thank you, Suzanne. Oop, I guess we were double-clicking.
Sorry.
That's okay. So let me tell you a little bit about the Institute in Portland and answer a couple of questions that some of you may have about transportation and rooms, etc. First of all, the Institute program will start at 2 p.m. sharp, with registration opening around 1 p.m. at the hotel, and will end at 4 p.m. on Friday the 17th. We ask that everyone makes every effort to be on time and stay through 4 p.m. on Friday, as we will be doing some important preliminary work leading into the online learning on the afternoon of Friday. We'll provide all meals from dinner on Wednesday through lunch on Friday, with the exception of Thursday night's dinner, which is on your own. And I'll talk a little bit more about that in a moment. All of you have enrolled in the fellowship at this point, and in doing so, you've reserved a room at the DoubleTree for the nights of September 15th and 16th. That is, all except those of you who are local and will not need a room. Some of you have discovered that your travel plans will require either an extra night stay on the front end, September 14th, or on the back end, September 17th. And we have approved that as a fellowship expense. Now, this is the important part. For those of you who have not yet made your travel arrangements to Portland, we urge you to do so immediately and to let us know by July 30th if you will need an extra night at the hotel. This is especially important for those of you who will need a room on the night before the Institute starts, September 14th, as the hotel is fully booked. Do not attempt to contact the hotel directly unless you desire to stay for extra nights for your own personal use. Contact Wendy Cho, with whom you've already corresponded, or with Suzanne or me if your transportation plans require an extra night stay. So Erica, I know that you raised a question about staying an extra night on Friday night and being uncertain about your own travel plans. There are a handful of folks for whom travel and getting in and out of Portland and accommodating our schedule just won't work. And so just let us know those needs and we'll work with you to get you a room either on the 14th or the 17th or both if necessary. We're trying to create an on-time culture. We have a packed agenda. We guarantee that we'll keep you moving. But we're going to rely on each of you to do your best to help us start and stop on time. We've also had a local group of our advisory committee that have formed as a welcome committee. And they've been planning to make your visit to Portland as enjoyable as possible. That is, if Suzanne and I actually let you out of the room to enjoy it. Information and options will be posted in August on the Ning Private Fellows Group, including information about the airport, light rail transportation, hotel information, restaurants, and local sites of interest. Among the plans underway is to provide a tour of the Multnomah County Downtown Library on Wednesday morning before the Institute starts for any of you who may arrive early and are interested in that. I noticed on the Ning community a conversation today that was raised this week about this very thing, and it would be good to chime in if you're interested, but we will be asking those of you who will be in town and interested once we get those arrangements finalized. We'll also provide restaurant options for Thursday night's open dinner, including an option to sign up for small group dinners in the area with other fellows if you don't want to just go off and do it your own thing. So we'll have plenty of people there to help you know how to get around the area, know how to use light rail. Light rail is probably your best method of transportation from the hospital, from the airport to the hotel. It's quick, it's inexpensive, and again, I'll provide information about how you can easily utilize the MAX line from the airport to the hotel on the website. We plan to have cutting-edge theory and practice, as Suzanne has mentioned earlier. We've assembled a faculty of thought leaders in aging, health, economics and finance, work and service, as well as library leaders who have been innovating in transforming life after 50 approaches. We've attempted to blend content presentations with examples of innovative practice from the field, and will provide fellows with time during the 3 days to talk with one another and begin to apply what you are learning to your own library and community. The online courses that follow the Institute will further that real-life application when you return to your communities. Now, we're planning to have a Futures Lab on Friday, the final morning of the Institute. Futurist Michelle Bowman will facilitate a Futures Lab that includes a walking tour of about 20 blocks around the hotel. You'll be asked to work with a small team of fellows on this walk. Please bring comfortable shoes and be prepared for any inclement weather, although Portlanders say that it never rains in September. But just be prepared. If you're unable to participate in such an exercise, please contact me or Suzanne so that we can accommodate your needs. The agenda will be available online in August as well, with much more detail than the agenda that is currently up there. We will have specific information about the content experts, the various topics and times that those will be offered throughout the 3 days. And then finally, please feel free to contact me with any questions about the Portland Institute. I live here in Portland and can answer questions that you have either about the Institute or if you should be interested in coming early or staying later and want some recommendations of great places to visit or hikes to take, I'd be glad to help with that. Let me turn it back now to Suzanne, who will talk with you about the online learning component of the fellowship.
Thanks, Stephen. Well, following the Institute, the online learning component will begin in earnest. There'll be about a 2-week break, and it will consist of 6 3-week courses on core curriculum topics delivered via the Moodle online classroom. Each 3-week course will be followed by a 2-week interval so that you have time to digest new concepts, explore practical applications, or catch up as needed. Although largely self-paced, each course will include a webinar that is an opportunity to interact with the faculty and with your fellowship colleagues in real time. The dates, topics, and faculty are as follows. We'll begin, as I said, on September 28th through October 18th with an online course on strategic facilitation led by Mary Jane Naquin will be the faculty person. And that intentional conversations exercise will be one of the first activities you'll be doing as a part of that class. Following that, from November 2nd to November 22nd, Cindy Mediavilla will be leading the class on community assessment. The month of December, we're going to all take a break. Then we'll return in January from the 4th to the 24th with a course on partnerships and collaborations facilitated by our own Stephen Ristow. February 8th to the 28th will be a course on volunteer engagement with faculty Carla Lane, followed on March 15th to the April 4th on, again with Cindy Mediavilla returning to talk to us about evaluating results. And we'll conclude on April 19th through May 9th on engaged programming with Jane Salisbury and social media strategies with Annalisa Svehag. At the Portland Institute, you'll be able to meet all these faculty members and hear more about each of the courses from them personally and become familiar with the Moodle online classroom. As Stephen mentioned, we've designed this online curriculum to build on the fellowship concepts that will be explored at the Institute. The curriculum will be of greatest value to you as you begin discovering, designing, and implementing innovative ideas in your own library. In addition to theoretical knowledge, the online courses provide opportunities to put skills into practice with the support and mentoring of the fellowship faculty and each other. The online courses, along with the NING, will help you problem solve, brainstorm, and innovate together. So now, last but not least, I'm going to throw it back to Stephen one last time, and he's going to quickly review the fellowship surveys that you'll be asked to take over the coming year.
Thanks, Suzanne. All of you at this point have all but I think a couple have completed the pre-survey that we sent out, and we thank you for that. And if you haven't for some reason completed it, there still would be time to do that. The 3 surveys that will be taking place over the course of the next year are requirements for completion of the fellowship. And we've engaged Joanne Marshall as the independent evaluator. Joanne is with the School of Information and Library Science at UNC Chapel Hill and has been the evaluator of the Lifelong Access National Initiative that Suzanne mentioned earlier, and has been very active with us in designing a survey that will help us understand how your learning and practice has evolved over the course of the fellowship and how this fellowship might be improved or strengthened if it takes on some future life, which is always a possibility. In the fellowship, in the survey, you have a unique identifier number, and again, if in future surveys you forget what your number was, you can contact me and I can give you that number. That unique number allows us to have you take this without identifying yourself by name. We want you to be able to respond openly and honestly to the survey. But the number helps the outside evaluator, Joanne, to track your responses over time so that she can measure the effectiveness of this fellowship experience. So the next survey will be administered between September 22nd and October 6th, right after the Institute, and then the final survey at the end of the online component in the middle of May. And you will be contacted via email when the time is ready, when those surveys are ready for you to respond to. And again, I think that's it for now, and I'm going to pass it back to Suzanne.
Thanks, Stephen. And I'm now facing my own learning curve here because I'm trying to catch up on, I asked people to start conversing and we've gotten lots of conversation going. So I want to now segue from morning of you doing a lot of listening to us. We know we've covered a lot of information today, and going forward with the fellowship, we really want it to be less about pushing information to you and more about our interacting and dialoguing together. So thanks for your attention. And now, as I said, I'm facing my own little learning curve here because I'm trying to see where all the questions are so that we can turn it over and respond to your questions. And so I think what I'm going to do here is sort of serve as the voice of the questions. It looks like a bunch of people have asked and have gotten responses, but it might make sense for us to articulate some of these aloud. Becky had asked what the Ning community means, and Annalisa, maybe you want to share that with everyone.
I responded to her. It basically, Ning is just the platform we use to create the community, like Facebook or Twitter or whatever, but it's customizable. So we just call it the Ning community to kind of identify it as separate from our other, not our website, but our Ning community. And it has all those features that I described. So I think I explained it to her. Ning is just the service. You can look it up at ning.com, but our specific Ning community is tla50resource.ning.com.
Right. And then someone had asked about the pre-institute activities, and we just pushed those live now. So
I just
those are
added
now
them
on the Ning.
Mm-hmm.
You can find those there. And then we had a question about how we will be reimbursed for our travel to and from the Institute. Do you want to address that, Stephen?
Sure. There will be a travel reimbursement form that we will distribute at the Institute, keeping in mind that by enrolling in the fellowship, you have registered for your hotel room, and that will be on a master charge that we will take care of. But for your transportation, ground and air and otherwise, you'll be able to submit those forms either right at the Institute or shortly after returning home, and you will be reimbursed for those expenses.
Okay. The next question also sounds like would be good for you to respond. Stephen, it says, will we be able to walk or take the light rail from the hotel to the downtown library, or will we need to rent a car to reach the library?
That's a good question, and there is a direct light rail from the hotel to the library, and so you'll be able to do that. This will be somewhat of a group tour, so some of our local folks will actually organize the tour, and we'll pick people up via light rail at the hotel and walk you through and walk you back from the train stop to the hotel, and so it's quite accessible. You will not need to rent a car.
Okay. The next question, will the online courses be asynchronous? I'm not sure I know what that is meant by that question. They're going to run simultaneously one after the other with a 2-week break in between. If you want to clarify what you mean by that, Jennifer?
Suzanne, can I jump in there?
Sure.
They will be asynchronous, meaning that the instructor and the student are not necessarily doing things in the course at the same time. In a synchronous Moodle class, everybody would be there at the very same time, kind of like being in a classroom in a school.
Well, it's actually going to be both, because there are times in which we're going to hope everyone, as much as possible, can be there for the live webinar, and then the rest of the time it will be self-paced.
Correct.
Oh, yeah. Let's see here. Is the daily hotel parking fee included with the room charge, or will this be done via reimbursement? Stephen?
The parking fee will be, I believe, will be included in the hotel fee. For those folks who are driving, we will provide you information about that specifically before you arrive. But I do believe that it's going to be included on the master hotel bill.
Yeah. We also have a question about the library tour. What time is it happening, and was that on the 14th?
The library tour will be on the 15th, which is Wednesday morning, and most likely will be around 10 o'clock. The only logistic that we're currently working through is that the library itself does not open until noon on Wednesdays, the downtown library. And so we're trying to get an act of Congress to get a private tour behind the scenes before the building actually opens up. So again, we'll have more information, but it will be on Wednesday morning, the 15th.
And I love this question from Bill. Is there a Stumptown coffee shop near the hotel? I know there's
Bill,
a Pete's.
There's just about every other type of coffee house, including Pete's and Starbucks. I am not aware that there is a Stumptown right there. I know that there is on the west side downtown, but let me do a little digging and see if there's one close.
And then Terry asks if a laptop will be required for the Institute.
We're not requiring a laptop, although you are certainly welcome to bring them. Increasingly, I think people are utilizing their laptops. I think that would be it's not a requirement.
And then we have a couple of questions about getting from the airport to the hotel. You know, is there a hotel shuttle? The cost and fee? Is there a light rail to the hotel? Can you purchase a pass at the airport?
Sure. The DoubleTree Hotel does not have a shuttle that goes to the airport. However, it is right on a MAX line, the light rail line, and there is a line that goes directly from the airport to the hotel stop. That is your cheapest and probably fastest option. The other option, obviously, would be to take a cab, but that's going to be much more costly. By car, it's about 20 minutes from the airport into to the hotel, and the light rail probably takes about that amount of time. So it's quite convenient. And again, we will be providing the specifics on the Ning site for transportation options from the airport to the hotel.
I'm assuming you can purchase a pass at the airport for the light rail?
You can purchase a pass there, and in fact, the TriMet system has these nice little self-help videos, so we'll be posting a YouTube video about how you can actually use the passes, the machines that you buy the passes from.
Okay. Couple of questions about Wi-Fi access. Does the hotel provide free Wi-Fi, or is there Wi-Fi access at the hotel?
As I understand it, there is Wi-Fi in the lobby that's available for free, and
I think it says I think it says there is internet. I'm looking at the page right now.
Yeah, there's internet.
High-speed internet access.
High speed in the lobby, and I have to check to see. I know we were negotiating to get free internet in the rooms. I'm not sure if we succeeded on that. I think that it is available in the rooms for a charge, and we will have an internet line in the space that we'll be in, and I'll just need to check with the hotel to see whether sometimes they don't want that to be widely utilized by everyone in that space, but we will try to make that accommodation.
And then we've got two related questions in terms of making travel arrangements and the vendors people can use. Maybe I'll answer that one. You can make your arrangements through whatever vendor you choose. We would ask you, of course, we want you to make travel arrangements that make sense in your own life, but we also would ask you to make economical choices in your travel arrangements. And you can use any vendor you choose and fly on any airline you choose, so long as it's in this sort of coach economy class fare. And that absolutely you should retain, then the next question was about then submitting for reimbursement, and you should retain the original receipts for all of your travel. We will have a specific reimbursement form that's distributed at the Institute. I'm sure all of you can appreciate that we actually can't reimburse you for your travel until you've taken it. So that's why the reimbursement form will be made available at the Institute. And on it, you will be able to indicate whether you personally should be reimbursed. I know in some cases, people's libraries are going to front their travel expense and the library will be reimbursed. So on the form, you'll need to indicate what is the case and who is the entity that needs to be reimbursed. It would be best if that entity could be the same for all parts of your transportation. I know we had a conversation earlier in the week about part of it being paid by the library and part of it being paid by the individual, and it would be a whole lot easier for us and the folks who are going to be handling the travel reimbursement if they could issue one reimbursement check to one party. So that's the only caveat in terms of making your travel arrangements and submitting your receipts. Then
Steven,
we have a, yes?
Is the DoubleTree the one on Multnomah Street?
It is.
Okay, I can share the link to their website if anyone's interested.
Okay.
Okay.
Because that was the next question. Yep.
I'll put it in the chat. Okay.
Yeah, and then we also have a question about if someone is accompanying you who's not a fellow. For example, if people may be coming with their spouses or significant others, that's perfectly fine. However, keeping in mind that we can only reimburse for your personal travel portion of your transportation, and you'll need to make it clear on your receipts that what portion of the travel is for you alone. And of course, the meals in the hotel we're only covering for you. That doesn't mean that people can't share a room, but beyond that, that would be the extent of it. Now, this is a great question. How many years has the fellowship been happening? Do you want to respond, Stephen?
Well, this is the first year that this particular fellowship has been offered, and at the moment it is the only year that it's a 2-year IMLS grant that's funding that with support from the California State Library as well. But as Suzanne mentioned earlier, there were two kind of predecessor initiatives that built on one another. One was the National Lifelong Access Leadership Initiative that the Libraries for the Future did from 2006 to 2006 through 2008. And that was essentially a 5 or 5.5 day institute that was held at the University of North Carolina with some contact afterward. The project in California, as Suzanne mentioned, was specific to California, and we wove a number of processes around a 3-day training institute. And when we designed this particular one, we really felt it was important that we provide ongoing kind of technical assistance and support and encouragement to folks beyond the actual learning institute. So that's why we've designed it in this way, where we're having kind of this introductory webinar, an on-the-ground training institute, and then a 6-month series of online courses and support to help you apply what you've learned. So it's been a little bit different in each iteration.
And Becky asked, I think she's confirming about the DoubleTree, and it is at the Lloyd Center, correct, Stephen?
The Lloyd Center.
Right.
Correct.
Elizabeth asked about car travel, and yes, it will be reimbursed at the 50 cents per mile as per IRS regulations and guidelines. So have I missed any questions? I'm going to scroll back up here and see if there's anything we jumped over.
Suzanne, I see one from Pam asking about the economy and the impact on retirement.
Wow, I didn't see that. That's great.
And her question is, I'm wondering, with the difficult economy, are many people working longer and retiring later? I could see how this would affect boomers and their use and involvement in libraries. And I think the trend lines are certainly clear that in light of recent economic downturn, that many adults, older adults, are looking at delaying their retirement year or years. Even before that, however, I think there was clear studies from AARP and other national groups that where 70 and 80% of pre-retirees were saying that they intended to continue to work during their retirement. So the motivations may have shifted a bit, where there's more of a necessity to work, but I think the desire to work has been there. In terms of the implications for libraries, I think that because we envision many of the boomer cohort to be very active and engaged in their communities, that the implications are that they're going to be a underutilized asset that libraries might tap into, and in traditional and non-traditional roles. So, for example, I know many libraries are looking at ways that they could utilize the skills and experience of retirees to help in designing courses or help with technical or management kinds of project leadership roles on various projects within libraries. And so there's a variety of ways that libraries have begun to really step that up, and we'll highlight some of those examples at the Institute.
There's also a question, this is also back to you, Stephen, about the baggage, hotel and the hotel check-in time. So if folks aren't able to check into their hotel room until the afternoon, is there somewhere they'll be able to store luggage? And what is the check-in time on the 15th?
The hotel does have a storage area that they've made available to us and do for any of folks who stay at the hotel. And so I'm assuming that if you arrive there, well before noon, that might be the option, that bags will have to be stored. I also know that in many cases, I think their official check-in time is usually around 3 p.m. But as rooms get prepared and are ready, I'm sure that they're going to allow for earlier check-in. So they will have your name on a list from us, and so all you'll have to do when you arrive is to see if your room is available. They will ask of everyone for your credit card for any incidentals, personal purchases during the time, as often happens on these kinds of situations. But the cost of your room for the nights that have been approved will be covered by the fellowship.
Thanks, Stephen. And Annalisa, this is a question for you. There's a person who's having trouble looking at the slides associated with the pre-institute activities, and she's wondering who she could ask for help.
Okay.
Could she just email you? And
You should email me, yeah, Colleen. You can email me. I'll send you my email again. I also saw a question in the chat section, Stephen.
Are you looking at the Pat's question?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Pat's asking again about the issue with a room on Tuesday night. If we cannot make a is it correct we cannot make a reservation at the hotel for Tuesday night if we would be coming on Tuesday night?
It is, if you are coming on Tuesday night, a night early, the hotel is currently overbooked, essentially, with 2 groups. And so we have made arrangements with a neighboring hotel, the Crowne Plaza, for any overage, and have made transportation arrangements to get folks from the Crowne Plaza to the DoubleTree. So what you need to do, Pat, or any others whose travel plans require them to come in a night early, is to let us know that, and then we will take care of assuring that you get a room and assure that you get to the DoubleTree on Wednesday. We'll provide more information about those logistics once we have a better handle on exactly how many folks need rooms on that night. And again, we would really like you to let us know that by July 30th, if possible.
Yeah. And just to clarify, for the purposes of the Institute, you don't need to be making hotel reservations. We will make those arrangements on your behalf, and you will not have to front that expense. The only expense you should have to be fronting that you'll be reimbursed for is going to be your transportation, your airfare, your ground transportation between airports, both at home and in Portland, your mileage if you're driving, a train ticket if you're coming by train, and then you'll be picking up your own meal. That's the one expense that will not be reimbursed for the entire Institute, is that Thursday night meal. You're on your own for that. But yeah, you shouldn't have to be calling the hotel making reservations. You should be communicating with us about your rooming needs, and we'll sort it out. Any other questions?
Suzanne, I did see a question about the archive.
Oh.
And the question was specifically about the chat. And the chat will be archived, the Q&A will be archived, and also when you leave the webinar, you'll be given a chance to download your own copy if you want. But it will not only be archived in the webinar, we'll make downloadable transcripts available on the website as well.
That's great. Thank you, Chuck, for sharing that. Well, I think that brings us to the end of our seminar. I have to say, I think the hardest part for me about this is wanting so much to be able to finally see all of you and hear all of you. So it's hard having a conversation and not really being able to have an opportunity to hear your voices except in the Q&A and in the chat. But we are so excited to have you be a part of this year. We're really looking forward to an exciting opportunity, and we also know that we have a lot to learn from all of you. And so it's onward and upward. Anything else that you wanted to say in conclusion, Stephen, before we sign off?
No, again, just want to make sure people know that I'm available as well, particularly around any of the Portland logistics, the hotel arrangements, all of those, transportation. If you've got personal questions about that, don't hesitate, either email or phone. And looking forward to meeting you all.
And
oh, sorry.
No, Annalisa, please.
I was just going to point out Erica's comment about putting your pictures up on Ning. And Stephen, are we going to have a photographer at the Institute?
We are. Well, that's actually an interesting point, but certainly if you've got a photograph between now and then, putting your picture up on the Ning would certainly help all of us, I think, begin to have a sense of who each other is. But one of the things that we are going to be providing at the Institute, we're having a professional photographer who will be there to photo document the entire event, but also to take professional headshots of all of you who certainly want them. We would encourage it of all of you because we really want you to see yourself as leaders as you return back to your local communities and want to have a professional presence you can share. So that will be an extra little feature that we'll be dealing with at the Institute, but in the intervening time, it would be great. Not only us, but it sounds like your colleagues would also like to see pictures of you. If you can post them on the Ning before then, it would be great. So
Suzanne?
I think that,
Suzanne, can I just jump in? I noticed there are two questions that I don't think we addressed, and I think I can answer them quickly.
Okay, great.
Garrett asks, the date range for baby boomers seems so large, 1946 to 64. Are there defined subsets within the group? And I'll quickly just say, Garrett, that you're right. It's an 18-year cohort, and if you remember the slide that I showed of some of the other generations, that's fairly typical of how demographers break out the generations with large subsets. There's been some literature about the so-called leading edge boomers and the trailing edge boomers, so the first 9 years of the baby boom and the last 9 years, and how dramatically different some of the characteristics of those two cohorts are, particularly as it relates, again, to lifestyle. Whereas some of the leading edge boomers are approaching the traditional retirement age and thinking a little bit more about retirement in the next 5 to 10 years, the trailing edge boomers find themselves very much involved in career and family and community and financial responsibility. Not that those two can't overlap, but so there are some clear differences, and we'll identify some resources that help to kind of define that a little bit further for you. And then Linda asks a question about will we be developing and delivering programs for our libraries as part of the year-long program, or is it designed to instruct us to do this going forward, or both? And Linda, when you applied for the fellowship, your library was asked to provide support in the form of allowing you and encouraging your application or your implementation of best practices in the kinds of approaches that you're going to be learning about. And the whole design of the fellowship is really meant to be that environment in which you can examine your own community, identify the particular populations that you want to address, and then create the kinds of programs and strategies that can connect with that population in your community. So we're not going to be prescriptive about it, but we do believe that we'll provide the kind of environment and the stimulation that you may need to give you the ideas and the impetus to do that.
There's one last question here. What's the dress code for the Institute? Business casual.
business casual, and keep in mind that Portland and much of the Northwest, business casual is another level down from the rest of the world. So I think business casual is probably the best, but certainly be relaxed.
We want you to come and be inspired and have a good time as well. So thank you, everyone.
Thanks, everyone. See you in Portland.
Bye.